So hey guys, how are you all guys? Let's begin with new series. The series name is What If Naruto Play Champion League. This is the first part of the series. Let's start the video. You're saying that these monsters, Pokemon, Professor Felina Ivy corrected with a saccharine drawl. Whatever. Naruto Uzumaki retorted in exasperation, people enslave them, put them in a ball, and force them to do incessant battles for the rest of their lives. What kind of sick, twisted Sanovabitch could come up with something like that? Felina shrugged. You can consider it as a hobby. Oh yeah? Naruto growled, well, it's a cunt's hobby. Language here, my dear. Felina stirred her cup of warm coffee with a spoon, her eyes fixated at the mystery that was Naruto. He came from the stars in a tacky outfit, demanding to save the world from a nutjob who was about to use the moon to keep everybody high as kite. As a scientist, Felina valued concrete proof above groundless babbles. Truth be told, she had checked a few nearby mental asylums for a runaway, but none had returned her calls. She wouldn't rule him out as insane, but the blonde sure had his ways with words. She almost believed in his story about being a ninja, almost. Maybe it was his innate charisma, that or he was a hunk and she had been secluded from civilization due to work and her hormones were acting up. Felina regained her composure and took a sip from her beverage. She really needed the caffeine. I think you're getting it wrong, Naruto-san. Pokemon and humans coexist peacefully together. It is their desire to fight and be strong. How would you know if they have the desire to fight and be strong? Pardon Naruto for being skeptical, but the last time he checked, these Pokemon couldn't convey their thoughts verbally like humans could. Are you some sort of a telepath? Can you read their minds? No, Felina hastily argued, my field of research is not just about the physical variants of Pokemon inhabiting different regions around the world, I also study their ethology too. It is in their nature to fight, I wrote papers about it. Naruto folded his arms, plopped down on his seat, and arched a brow. Whatever floats your boat. You don't look satisfied. He shrugged. Maybe you can coexist with these things without, I don't know, catch them and make them fight battles for you? The beautiful professor shook her head. You don't need to see things so grimly, Naruto-san. I can assure you, Pokemon are not tools for war. Naruto snorted. How dense and naive can Felina be for her to say something as irresponsible as that? Three great forces ruled the world: stupidity, fear and greed. No matter how much Naruto hates to admit it, war is as ancient as human nature. These monsters, Pokemon, whatever they were called, were basically wildlife on steroids that could potentially raise a forest to the ground or raise a tsunami. Worst of all, most of them had frightening attributes. Wasps that stood half as tall as a human, rocks that could self-destruct, slugs that were hot as the sun, ghosts that pranked people with nightmares, balloons that kidnapped children, giant Venus flytraps with stomach acid that could melt steel beams, praying mantis that had scythes for arms, yada, yada, the list went on and on. It's a miracle how the humans in this dystopian universe hadn't gone extinct yet. Let me get this straight, Naruto cleared his throat. 10-year-olds are allowed to catch these Pokemon for battles and nobody bats an eye? It is encouraged, actually. Felina smiled weakly. Are you even hearing yourself? Who in the right mind thinks that sending kids into a forest filled with man-eating monsters is a great idea? It wasn't hypocritical of Naruto to criticize that logic. He was trained to be a lethal assassin when he was a mere child. Those aspiring trainers were not mentally and physically prepared to roam dangerous forests. Not to mention, those 10-year-olds were qualified to catch Pokemon unsupervised and force those poor things to participate in glorified cockfighting. Did their parents want to breed sociopaths? Because that's how you breed sociopaths. From what Naruto had seen, Pokemon felt just as much pain, remorse, guilt, and sorrow as humans would, which means these creatures had intellect and emotions to make sense of things. How could this madhouse of a world find it morally acceptable to let kids subjugate Pokemon of mass destruction to their will? Naruto nursed his throbbing forehead and heaved out a heavy sigh. So, with a straight face, you are telling me how star-spangled awesome this world is and that humanity has not weaponized these Pokemon yet? The professor swallowed. Well, it's not that simple. A century ago, the Great Pokemon War wiped out half of humanity. We learned our lessons since then. Felina grimaced. Yes, humans did weaponize Pokemon. Crime syndicates and terrorist groups have been trying to harness the power of legendary Pokémon since Arceus knows how long, but we are not ignorant, we know how terrible wars are and we don't talk about it, we move on. That was too much for Naruto to take in, this is way out of our league, Kurama. She is out of your league, Naruto. Naruto couldn't help but stare at her well-endowed assets. It was mesmerizing how it jiggled when she moved, a swimsuit model's physique, salt of the earth, and self-possessed, she's a complete package. If he chose to turn a blind eye to her lack of tidiness, her house was akin to a dumpster, a major turnoff for Naruto to be honest. He shook his head to clear away perverse thoughts, there are bigger things to worry about than her magnificent boobs, Kurama. I'm not the one fantasizing about her boobs. Naruto groaned inwardly, what do you think about this world? Not as fuck up as ours, but still fuck up nonetheless, nothing we can't handle though. Do you think we can get back to our world? Possible. These Pokemon possess inconceivable powers, I won't be surprised if some of them could manipulate space and time, perhaps there are such Pokemon that can do that. If we want to get back to our godforsaken world, I suggest we find clues about it. Naruto glanced up and caught the professor staring at him, she looked away with a flustered face and stirred her coffee furiously. Professor Ivy. Felina, she interjected and tucked a lock of violet hair behind her ear, please just call me Felina. Right, Felina, do you know any Pokemon that can manipulate space and time? She tapped her jaw in contemplation, intrigued by the nature of the question, what makes you think there are Pokemon that can do that? Well, you have a friggin' dragon that lives in your swimming pool. It's a Gyarados, and it's not a dragon. Naruto looked incredulously at Felina, then what the hell is that? An oversized snake? Never mind. My point is, if Pokemon can manipulate the elements, then I bet there are Pokemon that can bend space and time, no? Felina nodded slowly, you are correct, Dialga and Palkia. Dialga and Palkia? Naruto repeated the words with confusion marred on his face, what's that? They are the legendary dragons that rule over time and space, although I have not seen them myself. It is recorded that they appear frequently in the Sinnoh region, however, there are no credible data that could pinpoint their locations. So, if I want to return to my world, my best bet is to travel to Sinnoh, Felina corrected, and are you sure you're not using metaphors to describe where you come from? Perhaps you're from Kanto or something, surely you must have hit your head or started hallucinating about an alternative dimension. Do you, by any chance, have amnesia? I'm not a mental case. I know what I'm doing. Felina looked unconvinced, then why are you so defensive all of a sudden? She has a point, why are you defensive? Are you secretly insane? I'm not insane, Kurama. Naruto bellowed, much to Felina's shock. Kurama? The professor darted her gaze frantically around the house, certifying that they were the only occupants. There was no Kurama and that freaked her out. Are you talking to someone else? He realized he had unintentionally spooked the professor and raised his hands in a surrender notion. Look, Kurama is just a demon fox inside my gut. Felina was sweating profusely and trepidation was making her blood run cold. It was then Naruto heard himself, of course he sounded like a lunatic, scratching the back of his scalp sheepishly. Naruto smiled weakly at Felina, just forget what I said. I need to go to Sinnoh and find Dialga and Palkia, my world is in grave danger, I need to go back. Please, Felina, you got to help me. Yes, she had to help him. This poor, deluded man was suffering not just from delirium, but severe schizophrenia too. Why don't you sit back and enjoy your tea? I'll go make some arrangement. Felina mustered a small smile and scrambled into the bowel of her laboratory. She was going to give a psychiatric hospital a call and make sure Naruto receives the treatment he so desperately needs. Oblivious to his imminent predicament, Naruto was grinning with mirth. Did you hear that, Kurama? I have found ourselves a way back to our world. I won't be so sure about that. The blonde raised a brow. What makes you say that? She reeks of fear. Yeah, so? I think she is not going to give us directions to Sinnoh. We should leave while we still have the chance. An ungodly earthquake struck, throwing the blonde off his bearings. With profound dexterity, Naruto did a backflip and landed on his feet. Unfazed by the disastrous tremors that were wrecking the entire Orange Archipelago, unfortunately for Felina, she didn't receive training like Naruto did and fell flat on her back. Naruto heard her cry of agony and darted into her lab. "Felina, you okay?" He scooped the professor up, one hand behind her back and the other under her knees, like Prince Charming. Naruto's eyes that was sparkling with concern managed to enthrall Felina's heart. I am fine." She caught a glimpse of her monitors and gasped, "P put me down. I need to see this." Naruto did as he was told and let Felina gently down. She wore her spectacles and scanned through the cornucopia of data sent to her computers. This is insane. This shouldn't be happening. What shouldn't be happening? The region's temperature level, humidity, atmospheric pressure, and all its meteorological variables are going haywire. The last time something drastic like this happened, the legendary birds were at war with each other. Naruto was still bemused. Legendary birds? War? What? Speak English. Felina glowered at the blonde. "I'm talking about the titans of the elements, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres." The blonde deadpanned. "You said it like it's supposed to mean something." "Of course they mean something." Felina was seething. This man was impossible. Articuno is the master of ice and snow. It can summon a snowstorm and bring about everlasting winter. Do you have any idea how screw up our planet's geographical poles gets when Articuno does that? Moltres is the incarnation of the sun. Its presence creates drought and dries out wetlands. You can't possibly fathom how many crops are ruined each year because of Moltres. Zapdos is storm itself. Wherever it goes, it heralds thunder, rain and floods. Naruto did a sturgeon face. Sounds like someone needs to punch them in the face and make them pay for collateral. Felina gritted her teeth. "You don't understand. They are legendary Pokemon. Their strength is beyond our comprehension. An ordinary Pokemon would be no match against their combined might." "Then you are just going to let them do whatever they want?" We can't do anything except praying for a miracle." Felina reached for her phone and dialed a few numbers. "I need to contact my peers and validate the data. If Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos are on a rampage, we have to evacuate this island immediately." "Don't bother." Naruto looked out of the window and spotted 3 flying creatures in the distance wrecking chaos upon the sea. "Are those things the legendary birds you're referring to?" Felina followed Naruto's gaze, only to be horrified by the sight of the destruction incarnates. Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos. She bolted out of her house and was hit by strong gales. If it wasn't for Naruto holding her shoulders, she would have tumbled clumsily to the asphalt. This is impossible. How could my computers not detect their awakening? And the mass migration of all these Pokemon. Arceus have mercy. Terrestrial, aquatic and avian Pokemon from the Kanto region had gathered all over the archipelago, witnessing restlessly and fearfully at the epic battle, an ominous sign of the looming apocalypse. Everything was happening too fast for the professor to process. Zapdos had brought down a hurricane, Articuno was raising a blizzard, and Moltres was engulfing everything in its raging inferno. We're doomed. Felina sank to her knees. Even if she had called for evacuation, it would take the rescue helicopter 20 minutes to arrive. Judging by the calamity that was unfolding before her, she didn't have 20 minutes to spare. "Alright, I think this is my cue." Naruto stretched his limbs and cracked his knuckles. A crestfallen Felina didn't hear the dauntless proclamation made by Naruto. Felina. She was still in a trance, unable to register the direness of her reality. "Oi. Felina. What? The problem is not a problem," Naruto smirked. "The problem is your attitude towards the problem." She blinked, twice. After I beat those oversized turkeys, you're gonna tell me how to get to Sinnoh. What are you? Like a miracle, Naruto was encompassed by an ethereal cloak of brilliant effulgence. In a flash, he had soared to the dark sky like a shooting star, startling Felina. Her jaws went unhinged as she watched the blonde broke the sound barriers, traveling beyond Mach 5. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the epicenter of a chaotic battle between 3 aggravated beasts. Moltres didn't see it coming. Without hesitation, Naruto delivered a punch across Moltres' face with sheer Herculean might that the impact propelled the bird of fire into a faraway mountain, effectively knocking it out cold. Articuno and Zapdos yelped in consternation and flew in circles around the enigmatic blonde, who was levitating in the air. 1 down, 2 more to go. Who's next? An infuriated Articuno let out an ear-piercing screech before it fired a beam of ice at the aloof blonde. It expected its attack to hit its meddling adversary and encased him in a block of ice. But much to its chagrin and confusion, its target became a log. Articuno scanned its vicinity frantically, but it was too late. Up here, bitch, raisin shuriken. Articuno glanced up and was struck by a sphere of raw power. The devastating assault exploded in its face, inflicting thousands of cuts on its body. Articuno shrieked in pain and crashed into a colossal glacier. Zapdos was frightened by the surreal display of power. No human, in its knowledge, could beat legendary Pokémon such as them with their bare hands. Naruto turned to Zapdos, his murderous intent sent shivers crawling up the bird's spine. You're next, asshole. With great fortitude and temerity, Zapdos unleashed lightning that devoured everything in its warpath. Thunderstorms of catastrophic proportions were tearing the world asunder, generating a gargantuan supercell that threatened to level islands. Naruto gazed at the phenomenon with awe, astonished that Pokémon was capable of such feat, but, at the end of the day, you're just an oversized turkey that needs to be put in check. Naruto blitzed across the sky like lightning and appeared before Zapdos. His reared fist was fueled with transcendental power. I don't know what your problem is, but your temper tantrum is making a big mess. Night, bitch. A fist to the gut, a kick to the face, and a punch to the stomach were enough to throw Zapdos off its high horse and knock its light out. With Zapdos defeated, the black clouds were dispersed, allowing sunrays to warm the earth once again. Falena's jaw was still hanging in disbelief. A mere man had managed to quench the umbrage of the bloodthirsty birds without the use of Pokémon. Impossible. It was a mind-boggling sight to see a man strolling with a swagger on the surface of the ocean, whistling a jovial tune, and hoisting the unconscious bodies of Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos over his shoulder. He had discarded his charred jacket. No thanks to Zapdos and its lightning discharge, Falena was dumbfounded and awestruck by the might of Naruto that she didn't realize he was half naked. I need new clothes. You happen to have an extra shirt for me to wear? How? She was gaping like a Magikarp. Naruto blinked. What? Something on my face? Did you just take down the legendary birds? By yourself? Yeah. He responded like answering a question about the weather. What's so wrong about that? I told you I'm a ninja. Wrestling with monsters is regular Tuesday for me. This is too much for me to handle. That's what she said. Naruto snickered, much to the professor's annoyance. At any rate, let's bring Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos into my lab. They need medical attention. Falena never thought the day would come when she sees the mighty legendary birds quaver before the sight of a mere man. Granted, said man did beat them black and blue. If it wasn't for their unparalleled durability, they would have suffered irreparable damages that might render them unable to fly for the rest of their miserable lives. The incorrigible Naruto had the gall to laugh at their plight. Please be considerate, Naruto-san, the professor chided. They deserve better. They deserve to get their ass handed to them for being a bunch of punk-ass bitches. Naruto turned to the sneering birds and tilted his chin. What are you looking at? Want another go? The ill-tempered Moltres flapped its wings and growled. Flames were expelled from its nares. Just because you can burn the world down, doesn't mean you should do it. People like Falena don't want to be harsh on you, but that's just euphemism. You and your pals have a beef with each other and couldn't take your fight somewhere else, and then what? You just jumpstart the whole end of the world fiasco because nobody tells you not to? You think you can do whatever you want without facing the consequences? There is always consequences. Moltres scoffed haughtily. Wrath and hate were burning in its eyes as it glared at Naruto. While Articuno and Zapdos were beauty and strength personified, Moltres was the epitome of raw passion and elegance. A Pokémon that was proud of its formidable powers and had no tolerance for insolence. I know you understood me. A sinister grin played about Naruto's lips. Articuno and Zapdos gulped, but Moltres was still indefiant. It was not going to back down from a lowly mortal. You're smart, but not lucky enough. News flash. There is a new alpha in town and that ain't you anymore. Fire Turkey. The verbal jab peeved Moltres. It didn't know what turkey meant, but it was not going to let the insult slide. In the midst of its untamed fury, Moltres charged blindly at Naruto, much to Falena's horror. Bad mistake on Moltres' part. It was brash and overconfident of its strength, which cemented its downfall. Naruto vanished into a static blur, mortifying the fire Pokémon. Swiftly, Naruto snaked an arm around Moltres' neck, pinned it to the unforgiving floor, and kept it in an unbreakable stranglehold. Moltres writhed beneath Naruto, a futile attempt to free itself. The more it struggled, the more its captor tightened his grip around its neck. Are you done yet? Still think you're superior? Let this be a lesson to you, I am your consequence. Moltres shrieked, but Naruto did something that bewildered the legendary Pokemon. He was healing its injury with his glowing hand, his gaze was softened and his voice became calm. You got a lot of fight in you. Fire Turkey, maybe you have a good heart too, but your pent-up rage is costing you. I'll take a wild guess and say that you're the one who started the fight with Blue Bird and Thunder Chicken over there, no? Articuno and Zapdos snorted. You need to learn how to channel your rage. Moltres remained still, allowing Naruto to heal its wounds. It looked away, but the blonde knew it was paying rapt attention to him. Maybe you might get stronger if you learn to do so. You can do some good if you want to. Don't be what you are born to be. There were no words left to express Falena's stagger. Not only did Naruto manage to subdue the impulsive Moltres, but the prideful Pokemon was actually showing respect for the blonde. It was truly a sight to behold. As for Naruto's prowess, she was done questioning it. The man had too much up his sleeves for the professor to comprehend. Alright, all done. Naruto wrestled himself to a standing position and strolled towards Falena, oblivious to how Moltres was staring at him with newfound admiration sparkling in its eyes. A week was ample time for Naruto to learn more about a world that thrived with paranormal creatures. Somehow, Moltres had developed an unhealthy fascination with the blonde. It snuck glances at him when he was having his meal, stalked him when he was taking a shower, and became a bag of nerves when he was exercising shirtless under the hot sun. Don't you think Moltres is acting strangely around you, Naruto-san? Falena shot Naruto a worried look, who was eating a bowl of ramen without a care in the world. While Articuno and Zapdos had ventured home, Moltres chose to remain in Valencia Island, specifically in Falena's humble abode. Speaking of the devil, Moltres had ambled into the dining room. Its eyes lit up when it saw Naruto. With jaunty steps, Moltres walked towards Naruto and preened his shirt collar, a sign of affection that avian Pokemon tends to showcase. Strangely, Naruto petted the back of Moltres' head, much to its delight. It was crooning in glee from his touch, something that caught Falena's attention. How? I think it likes you. Naruto snickered. What is there not to like? Every molecule in my being is awesome, that's why I'm so awesome. Falena rolled her eyes. I think it wants you to be its trainer. At that, Moltres perked up. The blonde finished the meat broth from his ramen, let out a sigh of content, and leaned into his seat. Pokemon trainer? Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm not gonna camouflage myself, hide in a swamp, and go quack quack for 3 hours straight just so I could catch myself a ducklet. Do I look like a lowlife prick to you? A Pokemon trainer doesn't necessarily need to catch Pokemon, the professor argued. I believe Moltres wants you to teach it how to be stronger. By the way, we might have to refer to Moltres as a sheep from now on. It was a groundbreaking discovery for the professor. Legendary Pokemon might potentially have genders. It was almost impossible to capture one, lest study them. So the academia could only hypothesize that such mythical creatures reproduce asexually. Imagine how amazed the Pokemon community would be if such earth-shattering news got exposed to the public. According to Falena's analysis, Zapdos was most likely a male, because it was very vocal, had a pronounced sear, and grew spectacularly bright plumage. On the other hand, Articuno and Moltres exhibited sexual dimorphism of the female sex. I don't have time for that. Naruto's declaration made Moltres deflated. Let me make this clear. I condemn the notion of using Pokemon to fight my battles. If someone wants a piece of me, then I'll use my fist to do the talking. If my fist can't solve the problem, then I'll use words. Either way, there is no version of this where I let a 15-inch yellow rodent fight for my honor. Do you know how ludicrous it is? This is how this world works, Naruto-san, Falena protested. Doesn't mean I have to condone it, Naruto responded frostily. If the norm of this world dictates that I should sell my children to slavery, am I morally obligated to do so? It may sound nonsensical to you, but I beg to differ. Falena sighed. Reject it all you want, but one day, you'll realize that this is how this world functions. The sooner you accept it, the better. Moltres is seeking for a strong trainer like you. The average Joes wouldn't be able to keep up with her, but you can, unlike Articuno and Zapdos who are satisfied for being what they are. I think Moltres wants to be more than just a guardian of an island. Naruto sighed and shifted his attention to a despondent Moltres, whose sight was downcast. He stroked her beak and got her to look at him. Look, I don't belong in this world. Once I find Dialga and Palkia, I'm gonna make them transport me back to my universe. Moltres let out a dejected wail. I'm not gonna lead you on or anything, Moltres. I don't intend to stay in this world. Naruto chuckled at how absurd his dilemma was. Hell, I don't even know how long I'm gonna be around. I might find Dialga and Palkia next week. Enough was enough. Falena had it with Naruto dashing cold water on poor Moltres. If you think things are going to go your way, then you're either incredibly naive or incredibly stupid. Naruto furrowed his brows. Hey, what makes you think you'll find Dialga and Palkia? Huh. Better men have tried and failed. The data about Dialga and Palkia being spotted in Sinnoh was dated a few decades ago. Don't you get it? Falena raked a hand through her hair to vent out her anger. The chance of you encountering Dialga and Palkia is slim. Okay, let's just say you did find them, then what? Do you really think they will do your bidding? Dialga and Palkia come from legends. They're basically gods. That last statement tickled Naruto's funny bone. Gods? He fought against the likes of Madara and Kagaya. Don't get him started with creepy-ass Kabuto and faggoty Orochimaru. Boogeyman had to check his closet for those self-loathing pieces of shit before he went to bed. If Naruto could beat revered Pokemon like Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos without breaking a sweat, then how hard could it be for him to kick Dialga and Palkia's asses if push comes to shove? How about this? Falena harumphed. You bring Moltres along with you. She gets to protect you and keep you company. You get to train her and make her stronger. It's a win-win. Naruto scratched his temples, musing deeply in thought. Moltres chirped, nuzzling the blonde. I definitely don't need your protection and I can't guarantee that I can make you stronger, Moltres. Even so, do you still want to tag along? The bird of fire and passion nodded. Alright then. Naruto thrust out his bandaged fist, hit it. Tilting its head, Moltres studied Naruto's fist with aroused curiosity. It's a sign of our friendship. Let's do a fist bump. Falena cocked a brow, not sure how to make do with this situation. After an awkward silence intruded, Moltres raised her foot, balled her digits, and gently tapped Naruto's fist. The world was never going to be the same again. I can't thank you enough, Falena. Naruto suddenly pulled Falena to a warm hug, much to the professor's bliss and embarrassment. Interacting with a feely-touchy social butterfly who knew little about personal space was still foreign to her, but it was a pleasant experience nonetheless. Granted, Naruto was still an anomaly who despised Pokemon battles, a trait that made him charming and vexing at the same time. No sweat, Falena chuckled as the blonde pulled away. Here, I want you to have this. Naruto arched a brow at the black orb in Falena's grasp. What's this? This is a luxury ball, a variant of the Pokeball. You will need it for Moltres. Wait a minute. Hold up. You want me to seal Moltres into this ball? I ain't doing that. The bird can have all the freedom she wants. Don't be stubborn. Falena reprimanded. There are places where you may not be able to bring Moltres along with you. Besides, Moltres' presence can potentially dry up places. You don't want Moltres to unintentionally cause desertification and erosion. We're talking about shortage of water supply, famine, wildfire, and dust storms. That's how powerful Moltres is. Please, take this luxury ball with you. Naruto sighed and took the ball. An impish smile found its way to his lips. Fine, I'll take it, but that's because you want me to. Falena averted her gaze. Don't say stupid stuff like that, Jay. Just go on. The ship is not going to wait for you. She managed to pull in some favors and got help from Drake, a world-renowned trainer who had an affinity for dragons. In a stroke of luck, Drake was cruising in the Orange Archipelago after receiving news that the legendary birds were causing a ruckus. Knowing Drake well, Falena bet the crusty old man wanted to test the strength of his dragon Pokemon against Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos. Ho, ho. Drake dropped a hand on Naruto's shoulder, a gesture that was very much unappreciated by the blonde. What do we have here? I thought you wanted me to deliver some precious cargo for you, Ivy. Turns out, it's your boyfriend you want me to send away. Naruto-san is not my boyfriend, you senile old fart. Ho, ho. Rude as ever, Drake grinned. Do you reckon the reason why you haven't landed a bow is because of your domineering attitude? Your father would be so disappointed in you. My father would have smacked you in the face for neglecting your duty as my uncle. And you grew up to be an esteemed Pokemon professor without me. Drake chortled heartily, I guess that's kudos for me. Ha, ha. It was then Drake spotted Moltres standing behind Naruto and his eyes widened like saucer. He pointed a shaky finger at the flame Pokemon, a glint of childish and manic joy flashed across his eyes. Is that what I think it is? Felina sighed, yes, it's a goddamn Moltres. I'm gonna get my Salamence to skewer it alive, feed it to my Shelgon, and mount its head in my bedroom. My erection can only get so hard. Drake hastily slapped a hand over his mouth and stared fearfully at a very disturbed Naruto and an unamused Felina. He regained his composure and coughed, ha, ha. Sorry about that, I tend to blurt out things whenever I get excited. Okay. Naruto blinked slowly, took a cautious step away from the unstable man, and turned to Felina. I don't think boarding his ship is a good idea. Don't worry about it. Felina waved a dismissive hand. He may be eccentric, but he has a good heart. He is not that type of guy who will sneak into your bedroom at 2 a.m. in the morning, sing a sailor song, play his pastoral pipes, and bawl his eyes out for 2 hours straight. The fact that you went on great length to describe something that he might not do does not reassure me whatsoever. Look, Felina's face turned solemn, you have no idea how to get to Sinnoh. Drake is the only man I know who knows the sea more than anybody else. Now, he may be weird, but he can bring you there. You just need to put up with his shit for a few days and you'll get what you want. Drake draped his hands over Naruto and Felina's shoulders, interrupting their conversation. Naruto winced at Drake's pungent breath, which smelled like cheap alcohol. That explains so much. I ain't gonna bring him to Sinnoh without some incentives. Incentives? Felina was furious, her eyes were blazing with betrayal. We had a deal. What can I say? Drake dug his nose with his pinky. Gotta put food on the table, baby girl. The professor growled, fine. What do you want? A wide, toothy grin tugged at Drake's mouth as he pointed at Moltres. Yeah. Me and you. All day. Just me. On the ship. Don't hold me back. Balls in my waist. Not a game. By myself. Pokemon ready. Let's do this shit. Naruto knew Drake was riled up because the intoxicated ship captain was doing a tribal dance before a very confused Moltres. No thank you, the blonde declined crudely. I don't think Moltres is interested. I think I'll find my own way to Sinnoh. You perverted cocksucker. Drake shrieked, shocking Naruto. The derogatory and gratuitous accusation caught the blonde off guard. How could a strong trainer like you back down from a battle? A battle between men. What are you? A sissy? In Naruto's dictionary, a battle between men usually involved fire and brimstone, awesome explosions, flattened mountains, angry war cries, and an all-out fight to the death situation. Not pitting two animals in combat, oi. Take that back. Felina slapped her forehead. This wasn't going to turn out well. Sissy. Sissy. This pansy-ass boy is a sissy. Drake sang provocatively, earning him the ire of Naruto. I'm gonna shove my fist up where the sun doesn't shine and make you grovel before me. Naruto grunted, his bottom eyelid twitched vigorously. If Drake wasn't Felina's uncle, he would have beaten the living daylight out of the drunkard. That's rich, coming from a sissy who doesn't dare to fight me. I'll fight you all right. Hook, line, and sinker. Drake grinned with triumph and let out a guffaw, then it settled. You're Moltres. My Salamence. 1 round. The old-fashioned way. First Pokemon to get knocked down loses. Who the hell said I'm gonna get Moltres to fight for me? The blonde rolled up his sleeves and waved a threatening fist at the ship captain. That's the rule, gay boy. Drake's obnoxious and witty retort was getting under Naruto's skin. Felina stepped in before things escalated beyond hope. With a placid and calm demeanor, she gave the blonde a stern gaze and placed a hand on his muscular chest. Naruto, it's time for you to accept how things run in this world. Do it, accept Drake's challenge. What? Look at Moltres. Felina argued, she's itching for a fight, can't you tell? Bloodlust was painted on Moltres' features, her pupils were dilated, her fiery wings flared, and her head raised. Those were signs of aggression. Moltres shared the same sentiment as her master. She wanted to shut Drake up and assert her dominance. The majestic fire Pokemon turned to Naruto and cawed, eager to face adversity head-on. There was no stopping Moltres from laying the smack down on Drake's Pokemon. That's the spirit. Drake laughed aloud. Show them who the boss is, Salamence. When Salamence emerged, it carried itself with an air of arrogance, as if it was invincible and untouchable. The high and mighty dragon regarded its opponent with cold disdain, and that got Moltres pissed. How dare Salamence stared at her condescendingly. Not even Articuno or Zapdos dared roll their eyes before her. Moltres immediately concluded two things: Salamence was being a smug bitch and it was in need of a serious ass whooping. Give Moltres instruction, Naruto. Falena ushered. Instructions? How the hell do you want me to give her instructions when I know nothing about Pokemon battles? Just let her do her own thing. Screw this. Falena took a bold step forward. Moltres, use. Moltres roared with vehemence. Drake clicked his tongue and shook his head. But out, Ivy. Moltres ain't gonna take orders from you. Her master is the pasty-ass sissy standing over there, not you. Naruto balled his fists. The guy was good at pushing his buttons. Falena backed down, knowing Drake was right. A dominant Pokemon like Moltres wouldn't obey her command. She didn't earn her right to command such an exquisite and strong Pokemon. She could only hope Naruto knows what he was doing. A fistfight and a Pokemon battle were two different things. Alright, Salamence. Make Moltres your bitch. Give her a nice flamethrower and toast her ass real crispy. Salamence spew out a blast of hot fire, intending to incinerate its target. Inside Naruto's mind, he already formulated countless simulations that would allow him to beat the dragon, deploy Kage Bunshin as decoy, get Salamence distracted. Strong jab to the face, dislocate its jaw. Elbow to its back, fracture its ribs to cause internal hemorrhaging, and finish it for good with a Rasengan to its neck. That's what he would do, because he knew what he was capable of. In Moltres' context, he knew nothing about her. He didn't know how fast she could fly, he didn't know how durable she could last, hell, he didn't even know what arsenal of techniques she possessed. Those were red lights in the art of war. Never jump into battle without knowing thyself. Don't just stand there, Moltres. Fly and dodge it. Moltres took off blazing to the sky and avoided the fireball, but the onslaught hadn't stopped yet. Salamence spouted a sea of terrific red flames in the air. The intensity of the heat was scorching the atmosphere. Moltres, avoid the fire and maintain your distance. Moltres was nimble as a feather, evading the assault effortlessly and whirling above the dragon. She was the living incarnation of fire itself. A mere fireball was not going to do her in. She had to give the egotistic dragon a lesson on humility. Now, sweep down and let that overgrown lizard taste its own medicine. Kick its butt. Moltres dove down with immense speed. Her rage empowered her as she belched forth searing scarlet flames. Drake had anticipated Moltres' moves. In fact, he was counting on it. Rookie mistake. Salamence, show them what you're made of. Dragon Rush. Azure energy enwrapped Salamence, fusing it with tremendous power. Without hesitation, the fearless dragon lunged itself towards danger, unfazed by the lick of the monstrous flames. Like a spear, Salamence pierced through fire and scathed and smashed itself brutally against Moltres, startling Naruto in the process. She withstood the brunt of that devastating assault, but it didn't come without cost. Moltres was discombobulated, her ears were ringing and her vision jarred. She shook her head, trying desperately to recover her senses. Drake snickered, "Hey, sissy. I'll throw this in. If you beat me, not only will I bring you to Sinnoh, I'll pay for your accommodation and meals. Hell, I'll even pay for your strippers. Knock yourself out good, will ya?" While Drake was mouthing off, thousands of strategy were connived in Naruto's head. Salamence proved to be strong, so the only plausible way of taking down the damn dragon was to starve him out of energy. Judging by the dragon's weight, it would tire itself out if the battle was prolonged. This all came down to timing. I have no idea how an amateur like you managed to capture Moltres, but one thing is for sure. Drake exclaimed, "You don't know jack squat about the bond between Pokemon and its trainer. A fool like you who don't even have faith in the strength of your Pokemon will amount to nothing. You talk a lot of smack for a fucktard." Naruto turned to Moltres and shouted, "Moltres, you okay?" The Firebird grunted. she was still dizzy, but the taunting look on Salamance's face only made her want to rip its tight ass a new one. Good, I need you to trust me now. Felina noticed the air around Naruto became heavy when his demeanor changed, his powerful eyes were gleaming with insurmountable confidence. Do as I say, cast off your fear. Do not hesitate. Hesitate means defeat. Defeat means death. Listen to my command. She nodded, her eyes burning with conviction. Good, now, keep flying around the dragon, attack only when I said so. You think I don't know what scheme you're cooking up? I won't let you. Salamence, finish that Moltres off with Dragon Rush. Salamance's thunderous roar shook the ship as it soared into the air, its body blazed with fury. Keep flying and don't let up. It became a wild goose chase. Every time Salamence catch up to its opponent, she would maneuver gracefully her way out of his crosshair. The dragon was relentless, but so did the firebird. It became a battle of endurance. Whoever allowed fatigue to overwhelm their senses would be annihilated. Salamence was getting irritated and anxious, if his sloppiness was anything to go by. Now! Naruto barked. Acting on instinct, Moltres launched herself towards Salamence like a deadly missile, smashing into the dragon's side. The blindsided Salamence cried out in pain as it sailed across the battlefield like a ragdoll and fell into the ocean. The stunned Drake stared agape at Naruto in disbelief. His trembling finger pointed at the elated blonde. That was a lucky shot. Moltres ain't got what it takes to beat Salamence. I'm hearing a lot of this. Naruto's fingers and thumbs snapped together repeatedly, imitating a mouth-talking gesture, and then they stopped snapping, and I want to hear this. You little shit. Drake clutched his chest and stared blankly at Naruto. I forgot to take my pills this morning and now I'm having a heart attack. Just like that, Drake fell flat on his face, his body convulsing ever so slightly. Naruto scratched the back of his head, turned to a horrified Felina, and pointed laxly at Drake's twitching form. So, is this the part where I steal his ship and find my way to Sinnoh, or should I give this asshole a few kicks just to make sure he isn't faking a heart attack? Do something. Felina yelled out indignantly, her hands waving frantically at Drake's motionless body. The asshole got it coming for him. Naruto studied his nails, ignoring the incredulous looks Felina was shooting at him. Don't look at me like that, I'm not your classic superhero archetype. I am a man with issues, lots and lots of issues. I dispose assholes for a living, not save them. Granted, my best friend was an asshole and I saved him, but that's beside the point. I'm a walking mass of fuck-up hypocrisy. Bottom line, I am not obligated to save him. You can't do this. Panic and fear were overwhelming Felina as she hit an aloof Naruto's chest. You said it yourself. Your best friend was an asshole and you saved him. If you can do it for him, you can do it for Drake. You said it yourself too. My best friend is my best friend, but do you know I say goodbye to him every time I flush the toilet? He's a grade A piece of shit, no lie, but we went to school together, so the sentimental value of our screw-up friendship prevents me from vaporizing his ignorant tight ass, Naruto argued. His face betrayed no emotions. That doofus dying over there is a stranger to me. For all I know, he could be a drug addict who sucks dick for money. He is my uncle, you jerk. Tears were streaming down Felina's cheek. This emotional roller coaster was taking a toll on her psyche and Naruto wasn't making it easy for her. Truth be told, the notion of being alone in a vast and cruel world terrified her. He is the only family I got left. He may be an asshole, but at least he sends a postcard to me on my birthday every year. Naruto groaned in annoyance. If there was one thing he loathed more than a ramen joint that prioritized fancy side dishes over ramen itself, it would be the sight of a beautiful and kind woman crying before him. Fine. I'll do. Out of nowhere, a flamboyant man with a cape emerged from the ship's cabin, flexing his biceps and making dramatic poses that only made Naruto further question his sanity. Have no fear, bitches. Lance is here to save the day. Lance. Felina's eyes lit up. You're here. My man. How long has it been since I see your pretty-ass face, bitch? Naruto wasn't impressed. He says bitch like he's saying hello. Lance, you know how to save my uncle? I must show you my magic. Lance flashed his teeth with a smirk, rummaged about his jacket's pocket, and took out a syringe. Nobody was sure if Lance was even medically licensed to give injection. But his overzealous grin erased Falena's doubts. Lance plunged the needle into Drake's chest and things worked out for the best. Drake woke up with cold sweats, groaning aloud like a constipated Mac-hoke. Naruto turned to Falena and deadpanned, "That ain't magic, he just took your uncle's medicine and gave it to him, how is that magic? I don't want to hear this from you, Naruto-san. At least I don't need to bargain with Lance to save my uncle." "Whoa! Is that a Moltres?" Lance burst in joy, stood up groggily, and adjusted his pants. The perverse vibe that Lance emanated compelled even a powerful Pokémon such as Moltres to hide behind her master. Seeing a legendary Pokémon always gives me a 50 Shades of disgust wasn't even a good enough statement to describe what Naruto was going through. I hope not every Tom, Dick, and Harry in this world are weird as fuck. I will pay top dollar to meet the weirdest motherfucker in this planet. For what? Kurama only snickered. "Did you catch this Moltres, bitch?" Lance grinned and stood unbearably close to Naruto. "Let's make a deal, you beat me and I'll hand you all of my Pokémon. They're big, strong dragons, you know what I'm saying. I train those motherfuckers myself to compete in the Pokémon League. If I win, you give me your Moltres. Sounds like a good deal, yeah? What do you say, hillbilly bitch? Let's battle." Naruto blinked, his voice monotonous. "Can't you see the fuck you written on my face? Hey!" Lance jabbed a finger at Naruto's chest. Much to Falena's consternation, the hot-headed dragon trainer had no idea who or what he was dealing with. The blonde could eat legendary Pokémon for breakfast. Hell, he tamed Moltres, a force of nature, on a whim. When a trainer looks you in the eyes and demands a challenge, you don't say no, dipshit. "I'm sorry." Naruto flailed a hand near his ear and scowled. "I see your lips moving and I hear noises coming out from your mouth, but I can't understand a single word you're saying because I don't speak little." "Bitch!" Lance gasped, floundering for a comeback. "Please don't antagonize Lance anymore, Naruto-san." Falena squatted down beside Drake to check on him. "Lance is on a training trip with Drake. It isn't wise to make an enemy out of your crewmate." Naruto drew an imaginary circle with his finger around his face and said, "What makes you think this face gives a damn?" It was then Naruto heard soft footsteps lurking from the bow of the ship. He turned around and was taken aback by the statuesque woman before him. She was the muse that inspired great paintings of angels. When she smiled, the sunlight cast on her with an irresistible prejudice to expose the splendor that was her beauty. "Professor Ivy, it's great to see you again." "Claire." Falena smiled brightly as she took Claire's hand. "What are you doing here?" Claire chuckled weakly. "Drasna couldn't make it, so she invited me to take her place." "That's good to know, it's great to learn a thing or two from Drake." "It's an honor." Claire smiled, but realized there was an unfamiliar blonde standing behind Falena. "He is. Ah, this is Naruto, he is a friend of mine. I asked Drake to help me bring Naruto with him to Sinnoh." Claire thrust her hand out and offered a handshake. "It's nice to meet you, I'm Claire." While Naruto was still awestruck, Falena elbowed him in the guts to throw him out of his stupor. Naruto laughed sheepishly and shook her hand. "Great to meet you, I'm Naruto. Can you give us one SEC?" Falena asked suddenly, surprising Naruto. "Yeah, sure." The professor dragged the quizzical dragon tamer away. When she was sure they were out of earshot, she whispered conspiratorially into her ear, "Listen to me, Claire, do not let Naruto out of your sight. I don't know how to explain this, but keep an eye on him, he is not normal." Claire blinked. "Is he criminally insane?" "No, not that." "Well, I'm not sure." Falena didn't know how to phrase it, but she tried. "He is not what you think he is, just, be careful." Claire frowned. "You're scaring me, Professor Ivy. He is a good man, you can trust me on that, but I don't think he's human." What? You make it sound like he's secretly a ditto that took shape of a human." Claire swallowed. "Is he a ditto? Just be careful, okay? He will listen to reasons, but I fear Lance and Drake might instigate a fight and things might get messy. Don't let them, do you hear me?" I'll try." "Don't try." The seriousness and hysteria in Falena's eyes were freaking Claire out. "You have to do it, got it? Do not let Naruto fight. At all cost. Do you even understand anything that is coming out of my mouth?" "Okay." Words got around quickly that a snobbish maverick managed to employ unorthodox methods to outwit Drake in a Pokémon battle. Notice the word used was outwit, not beat. One bloke in the ship got wind of the existence of Naruto's molters and the whispering game began. People started spouting lies about the battle being rigged, accusing the blonde for being a swindler. Everybody gave Naruto dirty looks and it was grating on his nerves. Luckily for him, there was a bar in the ship. He drank a shot of whiskey and sighed, "Thank you alcohol." Despite being ogled upon, Molters wasn't perturbed. She stayed by her master's side, taking delicate bites on her chow. "Nice molters you got there." Claire stood beside the blonde, her hand placed on her curvaceous waist. "May I sit beside you?" "I don't see why not." She smiled and ordered a glass of Cosmopolitan from the bartender. "I heard you're heading to Sinnoh, may I ask why?" "Oh. Seems like someone is on to you." Kurama snickered. "You'll bang her, okay? Let's not think from a penis's point of view." If Claire thought Naruto would fall for her charm and be an open book, then she got another think coming. An impish grin tugged at his lips when an epiphany struck him. "You see, I recently sold away my house because the wild Pokemon living near me were being pests. I even had a Bidoof problem, not Bidoofs. Just one Bidoof and it's scary as hell. I hate that Bidoof and I'll tell you why." Claire found the story intriguing. Bidoof was infamous for being nuisance because they gnawed on timbers, destroying homes in the process. "So, my house has glass doors, yeah. If I were to sit in my living room, I can see my backyard through those glass doors. This Bidoof came into my backyard on 2 feet, not on all fours, 2 feet, mind you. It got to my glass doors like a thug and started looking, and here's the scary part, it was smart enough to peek through the window and laugh at me." "Laugh at you?" She arched a brow, skeptical at the bizarre and comical tale. "I know, right? The Bidoof was trying to get in. It wants to rob me. It even took a crowbar and tried to smash the glass doors. I tried to chase it away, but it gave me a middle finger. I was scared, you know. That's why I decided to move to Sinnoh. I ain't gonna let that Bidoof have a chance to get his gang of thug Bidoofs to rob me." The key to a good lie was making others believe the liar lacked a talent for lying. In this case, Naruto was a master in the craft of deception. He wasn't stressed about lying. As if conniving a ludicrous tale was second nature to him, he maintained eye contact, didn't fidget about, and was calm, still. The loopholes in his story gave it away. She rested her cheek on her fist and smiled. "What do you get out of lying?" Naruto furrowed his brows. "What? Who the hell makes up a lie about a Bidoof threatening to smash my glass doors with a crowbar and giving me a middle finger? You want to know how I know you're lying?" Claire giggled. "First of all, Bidoof doesn't have thumbs, so they can't hold a crowbar. Secondly, they have claws, not fingers. So it is unlikely that one has the intellectual capacity to understand the context behind a raised middle finger and flip you off." "Well, you don't need fingers to scare me," Naruto retorted. That got Claire guffawing lightheartedly. "I get it, if you don't wish to tell me why you're going to Sinnoh, you can just tell me so. You don't need to fabricate a story to smoke your way through this conversation." It was then Drake and Lance entered the bar like cowboys entering a saloon, scanning the patrons with their hawk-like gaze. Drake spotted Naruto and made a beeline to the counter. A lit cigar jammed in the side of his mouth. "So this is where you are, boy wonder, how are you feeling? Having fun using the amenities around here?" Chugging down his whiskey, Naruto responded frostily, "Yeah, I'm surprised you're not 6 feet under yet." "Ah. I don't die so easily." Drake grinned. "You're a tough old man going crazy, I can tell you that much." Naruto figured if he were to hitch a ride on Drake's ship, the least he could do was to suck up to him. On second thought, nah, he still had his testicles intact, so that's as far as praise goes. Ha! A smug grin found its way to Drake's haggard face. "That's the thing, boy. I ain't going crazy. I am crazy. I just go normal from time to time, and let me tell ya how overrated being normal is." Lance snickered. "Yeah, bitch. When are you going to accept my challenge?" Drake snickered and threw a hand over Naruto's shoulders. "Do you know Claire and Lance are related?" "They're cousins." Naruto cocked a brow and turned to Claire. "Is that true? Are you related to Jackson over here?" "It's Lance." Lance protested. "Right," Naruto harumphed. "My bad, I tend to call people by the wrong name to let them know I don't really care about their existence. You're a real cocksucker, you know that, lad?" Drake winked at Naruto, which caused the blonde to flinch in disgust. Every fiber of his being compelled him to stay away from the ship captain. The only person who could make him feel that was faggoty Orochimaru. Drake came in a close second. What do you say? Let's battle again, your molters, my flygon, 1 round, all day, just me, every day. By myself. In this turf, but cheeks clenched, straight face. Pokemon ready. Let's brawl. What? Naruto shot Drake a confused look. Do you always start your fight like that? And no, I'm not going to fight you. Why? Are you spineless? It was Lance who decided to interrogate the blonde. Afraid of great old Drake? That's right. You're afraid of Drake, aren't ya? Y'all afraid he might beat your ass. Your victory was a fluke. Y'all nothing but a piece of cheese without corners. In other words, you will never be a slice bitch. I don't know what he meant by that cheese thing, but I reckon we should take offense to that and snap his dick in half. Naruto surmised one thing about his dilemma. Dragon tamers were psychologically challenged. Anyway, ignoring Lance would only inflate his ego and Naruto couldn't allow that. Let's not suck Drake's dick too hard, yeah? Now on any given day, I should be breaking my foot off in your manhole-size anus, but like the length of your dick, life is too short for me to give a damn, so, why don't you do us a favor and get out of my face? The fuming Lance seized Naruto's shirt collar. You dare insult me? Do you even know who I am, bitch? No, no. I think you got it wrong. A smug grin curled at Naruto's lips and he quipped, I'm not insulting you, I'm describing you, you son of a... Whoa. Claire hastily stood in between the composed blonde and her exasperating cousin. Break it up. Let's not resort to our basic instinct and start a fight here. Shut up, Claire. Lance shoved violently aside. This ain't a place for a woman like you to be hanging around. For someone who can't even pass Master's Dragon Challenge, you're lucky I even let you board this ship. Now shut your mouth and go eat your makeup or something. Naruto frowned. He wasn't in the mood to add his 2 cents on someone else's family business. After all, he didn't have the luxury to grow up with a family that he could call his own. But one thing for certain was that if he did have a family, he wouldn't treat them as horseshit. Claire looked away demurely, fidgeting with her fingers. That irked Naruto. You're just going to sit there and take that? No fuss, no retort. It's okay, Lance is right, I wasn't qualified to be in this ship and train under Drake's tutelage. If it wasn't for Drasna, I wouldn't be here. Should be appreciative of what I have. What the fuck, Naruto thought. This woman had more than just a chip on her shoulder. She was subjugated by her misogynistic cousin's tyranny and she had to rationalize the unjust she was suffering in order to restrain herself from having a meltdown. That or he had too much to drink and was overthinking it. This isn't my place to say, but anybody with some degree of self-respect will not take that without a fight. Well, Oi, bitch. What did I say? Lance stormed towards Claire and bellowed, shut your mouth and eat your damn makeup. Naruto deadpanned and grabbed Lance's shoulder. You need to back the hell away from her, asshole. What are you now? Her knight in shining armor? Lance scoffed. Bitch please. This whore is my stupid, little cousin who is never good enough to do anything properly in life and only freeload off my family. She's a poor excuse of a dragon trainer with no backbone to stand on her own 2 feet and I don't even know why her mother didn't choose to abort her when, MMPPH. Shit escalated from 0 to 60 in a blink of an eye. Naruto punched Lance across his jaw, startling everybody in the bar. Truth was, Naruto happened to be allergic to narcissistic assholes and his punch was delivered out of impulse. Lance tumbled to the floor, moaning in agony. Tell me this guy doesn't deserve it. Oh, you done it now. Drake chortled and plopped down on the bar stool, throwing peanuts into his mouth. Lance. Claire begged, please, just walk it off. Shut up, bitch. Lance wiped the blood off the side of his bruised lips, unclipped a pokeball from his waist, and threw it. Dragonite, come out and rearrange this motherfucker's face. Dragonite manifested before Naruto, letting out a hearty roar. Molters was about to intervene, but Naruto's glare was the verbal equivalent of, sit pretty and don't interfere with daddy's business. Lance was thirsty for payback as he shouted with the exuberance of a spoilt child, do it now. Fire punch. Without hesitation, Dragonite dashed towards an unfazed Naruto, its appendage ignited with hot flames. What happened next silenced the bar. Naruto caught Dragonite's fist, the impact caused a shockwave to erupt from his back. Lance and Claire gasped in dismay. No humans could stop a fire punch from Dragonite without having their bones fractured into million pieces, yet Naruto withstood the blow without breaking a sweat. While others were struggling to process everything, Dragonite's blood went cold. "This isn't your fight, back off." When Naruto glanced up, his eyes glowed a dangerous crimson. In an instant, Dragonite saw a vision. There it laid, a vast monstrosity with a maw that spelled death and eyes hungry for destruction. As it grew to its full height, it dwarfed even mountains. Its horrible growl was the sound of nightmare, pure and utter evil, which was how Dragonite would describe it. "What are you waiting for?" Lance barked, "Kill him. Hyper beam his ass." Naruto arched a brow, as if daring Dragonite to do it. "You sure about that?" Fear smothered Dragonite's senses, leading it to crumble to the floor like a mess. "My beef is with that asshole over there, not you." Naruto cracked his knuckles. His face was that of a killer, no emotion, no remorse. He was motivated solely by a sheer will to make those who wronged him pay. "Last chance, Scales, back off." Dragonite's limbs were shaking in fright, sweats were forming profusely on its body. "Atta boy." Naruto strode past a defeated Dragonite, patting its head while glaring at a gaping Lance. "Alright, numbnuts. You can stop hiding behind your Pokemon, grow a pair, and face me like a man. You want a dick measuring contest, right? Well, here I am." Claire was astounded. How did she not know about this man? Why hadn't he compete in the Pokemon League tournament yet? She bit her lower lip as she was bombarded with questions in her mind. "Dragonite!" Lance shrieked, "What the hell are you doing? Stand up and beat his ass." Groggily, Dragonite wrestled itself up to a standing position and swallowed down its trepidation. It was one of the most feared Pokemon in Kanto. It refused to cower without putting up a fight. Consequences be damned. Tendrils of hot energy assembled before Dragonite and it fired a beam of pandemonium at Naruto with the intention to pulverize the blonde. "Whoa, look out, that's a plasma beam. If we get hit by that shit, it might cause us some damage." "Damage? What's that? Never heard of it before." "Arrogance is the path towards the dark side, my boy." Naruto barely acknowledged the assault as he lackadaisically swatted the concentrated beam of fire and brimstone with the back of his hand. The death ray bounced off, ricocheting to the corner of the bar and burned a gaping hole in the wall. Naruto's frame dissolved into a static blur, his inhumane speed petrified Dragonite. Suddenly, he stood before the dragon. His outstretched fingers aimed at his target's chest. "You done fucked up now, Scales." In a fraction of a second, the 1-inch punch was executed with devastating impact. Dragonite flew across the bar and smashed into a jukebox. Its body twitched violently before it sagged. If Naruto hadn't held back, Dragonite's chest would implode, its ribcage would disintegrate into splinters, its organs would rupture, and the internal hemorrhaging would ensure that it would be in a coma for a year or two. Dusting his clothes, Naruto turned to a quavering Lance, his eyes murderous. "Your turn. Stop." Claire stood between a horrified Lance and an annoyed Naruto, her hands extended out to her side. "Please. It's over. You beat Dragonite." "I beat that derpy-looking lizard because it was standing in my way. I am going to collect Keith's head, one way or another. His name is Lance." Claire was unyielding, "and I won't let you harm him. If you want to kill him, you have to go through me first." Naruto narrowed his eyes, his voice turned feral and deep. "You think I won't kill you too?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop drastically. Claire swallowed hard, the air was so dense, she was suffocating from the sheer pressure. Naruto's glare only made it worse. "Easy there, boy, y'all releasing too much killing intent. The girl is gonna get a heart attack if you keep this up." Relinquishing his pent-up frustration, Naruto let out a grunt and spun around, diffusing the tension. "You just killed my mojo. I'm gonna let Chester off this time. The next time he ticks me off, I will gouge out his eyeballs and feed it to the fishes." It wasn't a threat, it was a promise, and Naruto made sure Lance heard him. "Geez, are you superhuman or something?" Claire wrapped the bandage over Naruto's wrist and tied a fancy ribbon to secure it. She wouldn't deny the fact that he was the very definition of machismo, and the tank top he wore did nothing to hide the scars emblazoned on his ripped muscles. It was no wonder the fearsome molters chose him as her master. What's your secret? Naruto leaned against the wall, gazing at the granite sky from the side of the ship's superstructure. No. Claire blinked. No, as in, no, I'm not gonna tell you my secret, or, no, I have no secret. Which is it? Nah, I just like saying no to people. Naruto winked impishly at Claire. It lowers their enthusiasm. Claire smacked his strong biceps playfully. Can you be serious for a change? Truthfully, I barely registered Dragonite's attack. Steve. Lance, Claire corrected. Jerry is incredibly weak too. When I punched him, he dropped so quickly I thought he was diving. Naruto dug his ear insouciantly with a pinky finger. A smug grin tugged at his lips. I regret nothing. Lance isn't always like that, you know. He used to be a compassionate and inspiring trainer. Things went south for him when Team Rocket murdered his Dratini. I think some part of him died that day. Claire tucked her knees close to her chest, her voice solemn. He has been through a lot, Naruto. Just cut him some slack. Been through a lot? Naruto scoffed. If there was someone who had gone through a lot, it was him. He was born a weapon and ostracized for being a monster. For his whole life, he had been playing ball. Even though the odds were stacked against his favor. Oh yeah? Boo-hoo. Everybody lost a loved one. Doesn't give them the right to be assholes. I've been drawing the short sticks my entire life. Should I start killing people left and right because of that? Claire shifted her attention to the blonde perched beside her and saw untold poignancy in his jaded blue eyes. Do you want to talk about it? Nah, I'm good. Naruto turned to her. A suave smile played about his lips. Let's talk about you. Are you your cousin's little bitch? What? I beg your pardon. You heard me. Blunt as it may, it was true. Claire had been subservient to Lance and it was vexing Naruto. I don't mean it in a bad way, I say it like I see it. You didn't dare to talk back to him. You don't look up when he talks to you. I bet if he were to put his hands on you, you would probably turn the other cheek. Makes me wonder why though. Claire sighed. It's a long story. Naruto grinned. I got nothing but time. Well, my parents passed away when I was little. My uncle took me in. Your cousin's father, Naruto interjected, trying to clarify the details. Yeah, I was 8 at that time. Lance acts like a big brother to me. He was very nice. He taught me many things about Pokemon. He showed me the ropes. We would spend time together with our grandfather, cleaning the dragon's den and having fun in the lake. Claire fidgeted with her fingers and chewed on her nail. He even protected me when my uncle tried to. Naruto raised a brow, sensing a sensitive subject coming his way. It would be appropriate for him to change topic. So, he went from Mr. Nice Guy to Mr. Douche because his Pokemon died? You don't understand, Naruto. Dratini was given to him as a gift by his deceased mother. That Dratini was an opportunity for him to grieve. Claire sighed, but Team Rocket stole that from him. They killed his Dratini right before his very eyes. Frankly, the less Naruto knew about other people's affair, the happier he would be. Despite feeling like he was in a straitjacket, Claire had been an angel to him. So he wasn't going to be a full-fledged arsehole and keep quiet. I would assume Team Rocket is a poor choice of a name for a shady organization. Let me take a wild guess. Your cousin thought he was hot stuff, picked a fight with them and got his ass handed to him? Lance used to be the Pokemon champion in Kanto. There's a lot of commitment that comes with the job. He has to patrol the city, make sure criminals are not out there using Pokemon to make crimes, and be the protector that the people deserve. Things happened. He met bad people. He tried to stop them, but Dratini got in the way. I don't know the details about what transpired that night, but it was traumatizing enough for him to resign. Now, he drinks himself silly and starts fights. Naruto rolled his eyes. What a wuss. That angered Claire. Can't you be a little more sensitive? You don't even know him. Exactly, I don't, and I don't want to. Naruto remained impassive. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. The very fact that nobody is born equal should cement that notion. Some people are born deaf, others disabled. Anybody who says otherwise is being delusional. Life is hell, period. Claire gritted her teeth. You can't possibly be so nihilistic. Sure, life isn't all sunshine and rainbow, but there is always hope. Hope? Say that to the kids who are starving and scared because their country is in war. have you seen war before, Claire? A haunted look marred Naruto's face. War is where the young and stupid get sent into killing each other because the old and bitter couldn't find a common ground. Now, I'm not saying war and life are nuances, but we're all fighting our own battles, me, you, your self-centered fuckface of a cousin Tom. At this point, Claire didn't have the energy to correct him. She folded her arms under her bosom and looked away. So, is this your conclusion? Nothing matters and there is no meaning in our lives? Look, I'm not the best person to talk about life. My world is not something anybody could fathom, but do you want to know what I've learned so far? The rhetorical question intrigued Claire. There was something about this man that made her want to unravel all of his bottled-up mystery. No matter how tough you are, life will always beat you to the ground and keep you there permanently. If you let it. I've seen stronger men who fall from grace because they can't take it. You see, it's never about how strong your kicks are or who can throw the fastest punch. It's about how good you are at taking those hits and still stand up and move forward. Was his life so perpetually difficult that the little hurdles in life meant nothing to him and that the suffering of others could never measure up to his? Claire pondered as she stared at him, unconsciously studying his strong jawlines and chiseled features. It made her wondered, what kind of fucked up shit did he go through to make him the man he is today? I can tell you're living in your cousin's shadow. You want to be great, but so does everybody else. But being great isn't all it's cracked up to be. You need to be able to take the hits and keep moving forward. Naruto stroked his stubble. You know what your cousin's folly is? Self-pity. When shit happens, he can't get up from the shithole, he starts pointing fingers, telling himself that he isn't where he wants to be because everybody is at fault. You know who does that? Claire swallowed and shook her head. Cowards. Naruto's gaze was fierce and stern. First step of being great, you gotta believe in yourself. Even when the whole world says you ain't gotta make it, if you can't believe in yourself, no one will. What do you aspire to be? I want to be the best dragon tamer this world has ever seen. Even the way Claire said it was unconvincing. Nothing worth having comes easy. You want it, you gotta walk through Hard Work Boulevard and go take what's yours. No one can do that for you, only you can. If you don't even believe you can achieve, you will never achieve it. Those words hit Claire hard. Until now, she had never believed in herself. Not once in her life did she think she was capable of surpassing her cousin. She was fine being second best and that stunt her growth. That was why she never really did walk the extra mile to be better, because she always thought she could never be the best. As for Naruto, rock bottom was the foundation that made him who he was. He was once a kid, a pariah, who screamed about his dreams for the world to hear, but it wasn't just empty words. People said it was a stroke of luck that he could be the strongest man in his world. They had no idea how much blood, sweat, and tears were shed to get to where he was. Well, I think I rambled on too much. Limbering up, Naruto climbed himself up to a standing position. It's getting late, I'm gonna go take a shit. Don't stay up too late. Yeah, Claire nodded, still musing about her shortcoming. I just want to say, thank you. Naruto raised a brow. For standing up for me. Don't thank me. The blonde spun around with his hands inside his pockets, Molters following closely behind him. Nobody can stand up for yourself except you. You're the one that matters in your own life. Thank heaven for ship's doctors. Naruto had to visit the doctor to talk about his problems. On a positive side note, the doctor gave him solid advice. Kill anybody who pissed him off. Well, not in those exact words, but the doctor recommended Naruto to do something productive in order to reduce stress. Homicide and productive rhymed, at least to Naruto they did. For the past week, every sailor in Drake's ship had come up to him and demanded a challenge. When Naruto turned them down, they became persistent like cancer, which should be cut out as quickly and as aggressively as possible so that they would never be a pain in the ass. If it wasn't for Claire, he would have shoved a knuckle sandwich up everybody's butt. We're finally here. Claire exclaimed cheerfully, basked in the warmth of the morning sunray and enveloped by a soothing breeze. Isn't it great, Naruto? Oh, yeah, it's hella great leaving this dump. Naruto gave the sailor behind his shoulder a dirty look before he disembarked. If I stay here any longer, I might go to prison for first-degree murder. Chill out, Naruto, there's so much things to do here in Johto, you're gonna love it. Naruto rolled his eyes and responded in a dead monotone, yay. Let's go meet Professor Elm. His office in New Bark Town is nearby. New Bark Town. Someone should kick the ass of whoever came up with the name. While Claire was jovial, Naruto wasn't particularly thrilled to meet this Professor Elm character, from what he had gathered. Pokemon professors were responsible for instilling propaganda about the glory of being a Pokemon master into kids. If the academia gave the green lights for children to hunt Pokemon, then there was something terribly wrong about this world. Pokemon were deadly. It got Naruto to wonder about the first maniac who walked up to a Pokemon and went, "Wow, this thing can kill me, gotta catch me one of that." Furthermore, parents did not see anything wrong about sending their unprepared and immature children to face the wildlife. Naruto was not a man who enjoyed using profanity, but what the actual fuck? What's your problem? I don't see you criticizing Konoha for raising children as killers. We don't parade it like it's a good thing. If we don't train children to defend themselves, the village will be overran by warmongers. I don't agree with it, and I'm not proud to say this. But our flawed curriculum is the best option to preserve the safety of our people. I can only change that once I go back to my world and stab that Kaguya bitch with a stake. That's a lot of repressed rage coming out of a very angry man. You need to go get that looked at by a trained therapist. I don't have any repressed rage. Spoken like a man with repressed rage. When Naruto and Claire arrived to the science facility that was constructed out of steel and glass, they were greeted by a bespectacled man, Professor Elm. Claire smiled and shook the scientist's hand. "It's so great to meet you again." "It is great to meet you too, Claire. How have you been?" If Professor Elm had noticed Naruto standing behind Claire, he didn't show it, or he just didn't care. "I heard you are on a winning streak as Blackthorn City's gym leader. No trainer has yet to beat you and earn the Rising Badge. That's very impressive. People are comparing you with the likes of Faulkner and Wan. You've finally made it to the big league." Claire chuckled sheepishly and scratched her head. "Thanks, I just hate losing, you know." "Sounds like a sore loser to me," Naruto interjected. A mocking grin played about his lips. "Hey! I'm not a sore loser, okay? I just prefer to win, and when I don't, I get very upset." Then it dawned on Claire. She hadn't introduced Naruto to the professor. "Oh, Naruto, please meet Professor Elm. He's the guy I told you about. He is Johto's Pokemon professor." "Professor Elm, this is Naruto. He is a friend of mine who is traveling to Sinnoh to settle personal matters." "Oh?" The scientist was flabbergasted when he saw Moltres in all her grace and beauty standing behind Naruto. "Is that a Moltres?" Naruto was annoyed when he was brushed off by the arrogant prick. Granted, Moltres was a celebrity of some sort, but that didn't excuse the professor for not extending some basic courtesy. Professor Elm adjusted his glasses as he examined the Firebird. "Is this specimen yours, Claire?" Huh? Claire stammered, No, she's. I'll take it." Claire didn't like how Naruto cocked his brow at the oblivious scientist. Although his lack of bullshit was his greatest virtue, it also made him unpredictable and occasionally trigger-happy. Much to her consternation. "What did you just say?" Professor Elm turned to the blonde. His condescending eyes were barely concealed behind his glasses. "Moltres is a legendary Pokemon. It is only logical that I take it to the lab and..." That was the last straw. Naruto grabbed a handful of cloth from the scientist's lab coat and gave it a violent yank. Claire's protest fell on deaf ears. "Look, fuckboy. I don't know what crawled up in your ass and died in there, but your attitude is rotten and someone need to knock your teeth in to get your priorities straight. Let go of me." The scientist struggled to pry himself off Naruto's mighty grip, but to no avail. Do you know who I am? Why should I care about someone who trades his conscience away for greed?" "Trade my conscience away?" Professor Elm looked insulted. "Show some respect." "Respect? Oh, you want to talk about respect?" Naruto effortlessly lifted the lanky scientist with one arm and hurled him aside. "You're a science guy, right? I assume you're good with your statistics, no?" That goes without saying." Professor Elm glared daggers at the blonde, fixing his disheveled tie and straightening his jacket's lapels. "Tell me how many kids are sent into the wild each month." Professor Elm rubbed his nose. "T20. Micro-expressions and body languages were the subtle things that Naruto could easily discern when someone was deceiving him. With his sharp analytical prowess and his dexterous capability to perceive emotions, he was a walking lie detector. Cues like blinking rapidly and face-touching were dead giveaways, and Professor Elm were doing all that. "You lying to me?" The scientist was finding it hard to breathe. 100. Naruto shot an incredulous look at the professor. 100? How many of them receive basic training prior to their suicide trip? Professor Elm hesitated. Speak when you're spoken to. The fidgeting professor shrugged, fear was coiling in his stomach, and none? Naruto was gaping in disbelief, are you shitting me? You don't understand. They are doing it for a great purpose. Professor Elm mustered his temerity to speak up against the ferocity of Naruto's glare. They are helping us know more about Pokemon. When they find and battle Pokemon in the wild, we record and extrapolate the data for analysis. I am a professor who specializes in. I don't give a rat ass about what you do, how easily you ignore the loss of life when it suits your convenience. Tell me this. Placing a hand on his hip, Naruto pointed a finger at the professor. How many kids make it past the next town? Naruto was controlling his rage as he glowered predatorily at the trembling professor. Do not make me go there and help you answer that question. Less than half. Less than half. Naruto raised his foot, pulled out a dagger strapped to his calf, and twirled with it. Professor Elm was getting anxious. His apprehensive gaze was fixated at the dagger spinning in Naruto's hand. Now, I don't know if your parents drop you on your head when you're a baby or am I losing my mind, but any sane person with some degree of common sense should know that untrained kids are not meant to fight monsters. But, shut up, Naruto interjected crudely, his tone venomous. Professor Elm, shut up, do you know what a 10-year-old kid should be doing? I'll tell you what, since you don't seem to have a clue, school. They should be getting a proper education, have fun in the playgrounds, roll in the mud, learn their maths and science, brush up their linguistic skills, go to college, make a difference in their life. Being a Pokemon trainer makes a difference in their life, Professor Elm argued. Are you only listening to 5% of what I just said? At this point, Naruto was hyperventilating from sheer anger. You do not impose your selfish needs onto children when you don't even bother teaching them how to make a bonfire. You want to know more about Pokemon? Go pick up a survival kit and do it yourself. Pacing around the chamber was a distraction that kept Naruto from committing bloody homicide. You talk about tall tales, about how great a mission it is for them to make a name for themselves by catching and beating Pokemon. You taught them enslaving the inferior is the right thing to do. It spares you the burden of all their deaths, absolve you of guilt because the end justifies the means. After listening to Naruto shedding lights about the flaws of their society, doubts surfaced on the forefront of Claire's mind. It was frightening for Claire to think that there was a shadow government scheming to brainwash children into doing their biddings. In lieu of school, sending children to capture Pokemon had always been a norm. Perhaps a myriad of factors played a part, but the norm had deeply infested in the roots of their society, like a disease, that nobody saw fit to speak up against. Meanwhile, talking to human garbage made Naruto want to throw up. He stalked towards the scientist, who instinctively backpedaled to a wall. You leverage on a kid's innocence. You feed them with lies about being the best and exploit their weaknesses. Those kids were sheep and you sent them to the slaughterhouse. Their blood are on your hands. Professor Elm flinched when Naruto poised his dagger at his throat. I don't even know how you tuck yourself to bed and sleep peacefully at night. To me, you're no better than a mass murderer. And you dare talk to me about respect? Naruto spit at the scientist's shoe. You don't deserve any respect.